Session of a work session meeting and a public hearing on the fiscal year 2021 budget. If we could, Ruben, would you lead us in the invocation? If we could all rise for the invocation and remain standing for the pledge afterwards.
Let us pray. Our Father, we just come this evening in the matchless name of Jesus. We come, Lord, to say thank you for being our Daddy God. You are our Abba Father. We are your chosen children, and we say thank you for that. We thank you for your presence here this evening, for your strength. We thank you that you have given us your Holy Spirit, ability, consecration, and strength and ability to do what you have called us to do. And so, Father, we say thank you for that. We thank you for a more abiding faith. And we thank you that you're always with us. For you said, Lo, I'm with you, even unto the end of the world. And we say thank you for that blessed assurance. And now, Father, we just ask you to guide this meeting. Let your anointing flow in the entire place. Help us, Lord, to be the kind of leaders that is pleasing in your sight. And then one day when we shall cease from these walks of life and we stand before you at the Bema seat, we thank you that you will say, well done, thy good and faithful servant. It's in the name of Jesus that we pray, and believers in Jesus say amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. First order of business be to approve the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion. I have a second. Second. I have a motion and a second. Do I have any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, so ordered. First order of business on the ninth meeting will be the public hearing, fiscal year 2021 budget.
Yes, Mr. Mayor and council members, thank you. As we prepare this year's fiscal year 2021 annual budget, we are mindful of the chaos in our economy caused by the coronavirus pandemic public health emergency and the need to address only needs and to keep the millage rate flat if possible. Everyone, myself included, advocates lower taxes, reduce expenses, reduce your expenditure so you can lower taxes. However, no one has advocated nor suggested a decline in service delivery. To reduce expenditures, you have to reduce service delivery or find efficiencies in the provision of your service delivery. City Council has approved an efficiency by approving the Enterprise Fleet Management Program. Although we haven't seen any savings yet, we anticipate that our fiscal year 2021 budget will see savings in the procurement of vehicles and the repairs and maintenance of vehicles. We will continue to look for efficiencies in our service delivery. The reality of today's economy is that without a decline in service delivery, you cannot reduce expenditures. To save on the increased cost of food, supplies, and gasoline, we could close down we could close down the senior center for one day, say Mondays of each week, and that served Meals on Wheels. But no one is advocating that. nor is anyone advocating less grass cutting, police patrols, or utility maintenance, fixing water leaks due to an aging infrastructure. Unless you want to cut service delivery to our residents, everyone in the city has to pay for the increased prices of goods, materials, supplies, and labor. As Councilmember Sells said in the August the 3rd public hearing, his tenants must pay for the increased cost of services. He has to pass it on to make money to stay in business of renting houses. The city is doing nothing more than asking the property owners to pay the increases in the cost of service delivery. And the city is not the only entity asking their constituents to pay the increases. For example, Coweta County, they published their current 2020 property tax digest and 5-year history of levy in the Noonan Times-Herald on Saturday, August the 8th, 2020. And as Councilmember Sells says, the devil's in the details. You will see that for the entire county, it is a net tax increase of 4.76%, or $326,706. Coweta County's tax increase of 0.76 is comparable to ours of 0.77, which compensates for the increased cost of materials, supplies, and labor. Coweta County just has more money to work with, which causes their tax increase percentage to be lower than ours. However, if you look at the details, it is basically the same as ours. And Coweta County is not the only one that is asking their constituents to pay the increased costs of service delivery. The Coweta County school system has a tax increase of 2.06 mils. The city of Noonan, city of Sonora, town of Sharpsburg, town of Moreland, and the city of Chattahoochee Hills have all published a notice of tax increase. We believe that if we keep the millage rate at 5.945 mils as it was last year and hopefully for future years, we can address our needs and keep up with the price increases for goods, materials, supplies, and labor due to normal inflation exacerbated by the COVID-19 public health emergency. On the labor side, we do not pay market valued salaries in Grantville. We pay below the market. For example, our police officers are paid less than the city of Noonan and Coweta County Sheriff's Office. In the Public Works Department, we start an employee who will be working outside in all weather conditions at $12 per hour, while target associate who will work in climate controlled conditions starts at $15 per hour. And because of our below market-based salaries, we cannot attract nor retain skilled tradesmen in the electrical field, such as an apprentice lineman or certified lineman, and in water and wastewater, someone who is trained and licensed in water and wastewater. Consequently, we have to seek outside contract labor assistance, which runs our costs up, or train someone in-house with outside resource assistant, which runs our training and education expenses up, and then we have to try to retain them. For example, a code enforcement officer. To attempt to retain our present workforce of employees, Our fiscal year budget contains a 2% cost of living increase and a 3% retirement contribution. Our fiscal year 2021 budget, based on the current millage rate of 5.945 mils, contains monies for cost increases that we, the city, don't control, such as insurance costs, health insurance, property, casualty, and general liability insurance, along with workers' compensation insurance. Our fiscal year 2021 budget, based on the current millage rate of 5.945 mils, contains funds contains funds for services that we are legally obligated to provide, such as indigent defense costs in the municipal court and interpreters for our deaf population. Additionally, our fiscal year 2021 budget, based on the current millage rate of 5.945 mils, contains monies for the increased cost of materials and supplies provided by outside vendors. Those costs we also do not control, such as dues and fees, office supplies, communications, postage, veterinarian services, utilities, and food in our senior center. Our fiscal year 2021 budget, which is based on our current millage rate of 5.945 mils, will increase by approximately $64,702.17. Of that increased revenue, we will be spending $30,485.16 on cost increases we do not control, $9,000 on increased costs that we are legally obligated to provide, and $34,625 for vendor services and supplies, costs again that we do not control, to provide the service delivery expected by our residents. With this overall picture of our fiscal year 2021 general budget and why we advocate retaining the current millage rate of 5.945 mils, the mayor and council members can open the public hearing. That is all I have to provide.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Appreciator. Is there anyone that wants to speak?
Well, if you're ready to open the public hearing, I'll declare the time.
Okay, all right, well, why don't you just deal with it then?
Okay, the public hearing will open at 6:42. Anybody that cares to speak for or against the fiscal year budget, or for or against the millage rate of 5.945, please come to the podium.
Okay, the first, Ms. Hines, did you give me these in order? Sorry.
Good evening. I'm here today, Gladys Hines. Good evening, I'm Gladys Etheridge Hines, and I reside on 592 Griffin Street, Grantville here. And my reason here tonight, I was here last month when we was talking about the taxes, property taxes going up, and plus I read it in the paper also. But when we received our, from the board, you know, the property, when they sent out the assessment bill and sent out the taxes, what they're going to be, our taxes already went up. And my question is that what it's going to be, or are you going to add more to it? It's more than what it was last year. the city, the county. When I spoke with the people there, a person there, and they said you had to go to your city, you know, about the Grantville taxes, and then, matter of fact, Coweta also went up. The police, not police, but the fire department, everything went up, and our property tax about double up or more from what it was last year.
Well,
And I want to know, is that the rate going up, and you're going to add some more to it?
well, Ms. Hines, I will try to answer it, that the proposed assessment notice you got,
Right.
I believe you received from Coweta County.
Right.
And as I said, Coweta County says that their taxes for the total county are going up 4.76%. The amount of taxes that the city tax would go up has not been set as of yet. If the city of Grantville keeps the proposed millage rate of 9.45, taxes in the city of Grantville would go up for someone with a home with a fair market value of $150,000. Your taxes with a homestead exemption would go up approximately, and just give me a moment. I want to try and be accurate here. We go up approximately $41, $3.34 a month, $40 annually. That's with a homestead exemption on a home valued at $150,000 fair market value. So the answer is to your question, yes, they would go up approximately $3 a month.
I know it's up more than what it was last year, but when we usually get those statement or proposed, whatever they send out each year, and that's what we usually pay, you know, in December. So my question was, are you gonna go up some more?
No, ma'am, we're not advocating going up anymore. We're advocating if the city retains a millage rate at 5.945 mils, which we are advocating, the proposed tax increase for a home with a fair market value of $150,000 with a $10,000 homestead exemption is approximately $3.35 per month, or $40.15 annually. The proposed tax increase for non-homesteaded property with a fair market value of $150,000 is approximately $3.59 per month, or $43.02 annually. That's what we're advocating.
But again, I spoke with the person there at the office, and she said, you know, Grantville is not a little small town anymore, and houses are being built all around. It's growing, that's why your taxes are going up. And like I said, our house been at 52 years, you know, but it says going up. And so I just want to hear if it's gonna go up some more from, you know, what it is, what they sent out. I think it was in June, like part of June, July, we received it in the mail. I just want to know.
It's-
Mr. Mayor?
Again, I don't know what you got in June, but I would think that was the Coweta County assessment only.
Well, it was, Grantville was in there, I mean, the city of Grantville, all of it be on that page. It be the county, the city, everything, we broke down and pieces, and then whatever it does, whatever it be, that's what you go pay, we paid in December. And my saying, really what I'm saying is that it has already gone up from what it was last year.
On their tax bill, it shows the county tax, the city tax, and it's based on the current millage rate.
Correct.
So, as I understand it, the amount that we receive on that bill,
Right.
unless we go down on it or go up on that millage rate, that number is what you will pay this year.
That's right.
And we are not advocating going up beyond what we had last year of 5.945 mils. So that would be correct.
But it is up from last year.
Can I say something?
Yeah, but this is really the citizens. Yeah, go ahead, if you got a comment about what you said.
well, 20% is what we're talking about here. Whatever your property value went up in your evaluation from last year, what city manager is asking for is us to take that amount, which is 20% on average, and keep that in 20% increase. That's what the council is asking. If the county is gonna post a rollback, which would make it equal to what we collected last year, but Grantville is asking for $64,000 more in taxes from the citizens this year. That's what we're asking for, and a piece of that year is based on how much your property went up in the new assessment. And Mr. City Manager, I really want to disagree with the numbers you're putting out. You said, let me finish. You said $64,000, and then you tell the audience that's only $40 a year for a $150,000 home. Do you know $40 a year would be 1,600 $150,000 homes? And I'll guarantee you, we don't have 1,600 $150,000 homes. We got about 1,100 homes. So I greatly disagree with that $40 per household at 150,000. The math's wrong somewhere. I don't know where, but the math is wrong somewhere. One of those numbers is wrong. And you are getting a tax increase, and it looks like it's gonna be 20% on average in a household, but whatever your property value was raised, you're gonna be taxed at the same rate as last year in Grantville if we approve this, and that will be an increase.
So I want to know because, I'm going by what I'm reading, and we get that every year. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hines. All right. You next.
Good evening, ma'am, ladies, gentlemen. My name's Kevin Downs. I'm in the Summerhill subdivision. I'm going to keep my home number to myself. What I'm curious about is I read where Mr. Shells mentioned that it's a 20% increase, and I listened to where we talked about the budget, and if somebody could break it down a little bit more in layman's terms, because most of what I heard is we can't agree on anywhere to cut costs, and everything else is out of our hands. So what I hear from that is we're doing nothing. And I'm just curious why we can't do anything, why y'all can't come to some consensus on a way to cut expenses, because from what I look at when I drive around Grantville, Meadow Ridge looks like there's about 100 homes coming to that subdivision. Brash Park, 30. Summerhill is being finished. That's all what I understand. I may not understand it correctly, but that's more tax revenue for the city. So if all that's coming, why are we increasing by, roughly 20% or however the numbers break down? So really, that's kind of my question. Can somebody break down a little bit more layman's terms to explain why we can't agree anywhere, from what I understood, to cut expenses and everything's not our fault? That's what I heard from the plan for the budget. And then I'm also wondering, am I allowed to ask who's in support of it? The increase on the council? As a voting citizen? That's my question for the council.
We're not gonna vote on it tonight, we have to hear all the public input. We have one more hearing. And, hopefully the action taken by the council is gonna reflect what the citizens tell us they want.
Okay.
And, so.
The next meeting, is it one that's scheduled during the daytime again?
No, sir, it's in 2 weeks on the 24th of August at 6:30.
At 6:30? Okay. So realistically, we need more involvement. And so nobody's decided, y'all are open to what you hear from your constituents. We're not one way or the other on the vote yet? Okay. Does somebody mind breaking that down? I the 20%, I hear millage rates, I hear this and this. But do we take into account the homes that are being built and the tax revenue that's coming in, or are we not allowed to consider that?
That is not in the fiscal 2021 budget because that tax revenue has not been received yet, nor has it been calculated. But what we talked about in the 2021 budget, cost increase, we don't control things like insurance other than employee benefits. Now remember, a budget is estimated revenues, estimated expenditures. We estimate that insurance other than employee benefits will go up $6,454.36. We estimate group insurance will go up $14,527.81. Workers' compensation, $9,096.16. Social Security FICA contribution, $329.96. Medicare, $77.17. That's a total of $30,485.46. We estimate that the cost increase of things we're legally obligated to provide, like indigent defense and interpreters, will go up approximately $9,000. We estimate cost increases that are budgeted but controlled by others. Dues and fees will go up by $4,400. Supplies will go up by $13,800. Communications in the police department will go up by $5,000. Printing and binding will go up by $550. Uniforms, the cleaning and those replacement go up by $50. Animal control expenses, we run an animal shelter, will go up by $1,000. Natural gas by $3,000. Communications, postage in the senior center will go up $75. Advertising in the senior center will go up $250. And food costs in the senior center, we provide Meals on Wheels for our elderly residents, will go up by $6,000. That's a total of $34,625. So, adding those all together, you come to $74,110.46. And as Councilmember Sells said, if we keep the same millage rate as we had last year, we would get an increase in revenue of $64,702.17. That's why we're advocating to keep the millage rate at the current 5.945 mils.
So where are we trying to cut costs on the things that you can control would be my question. It sounds like nowhere. From what I understood from when the budget was read, it sounded like the places that we control, we can't. It seemed like you said we couldn't come to a consensus or nobody was offering any sort of suggestion. Maybe I misunderstood, but it seemed
No.
like we weren't doing anything.
Well,
where
I
you
think the
can.
city council has tried to find efficiencies in service delivery. We haven't seen any savings yet, but they approved the Enterprise Fleet Management Program. In other words, where we lease vehicles and we have them on a rotating basis, and then they're handled, they're driven the optimum time, years and everything, and then they're sold by Enterprise Fleet Management. I think that in the coming years, we will see savings in our budget, and yes, that will reduce our budget and hopefully help us keep the millage rate steady or reduce it. It's estimated that over a 10-year period, we'll save over $330,000. But that hasn't taken place yet. But that's one of the efficiencies the city council is taking. They have bought some new vehicles to save on gas, save on repairs and maintenance. But the service delivery that we provide right now is rather bare bones, and we're going to keep it that way to keep our millage rate flat if at all possible.
So, I guess the last thing I'd like to say is that really from what I'm gathering is, or I feel like I'm hearing is, we're trying to do some things for savings in the future, but we can't, account for those until we realize those savings. But it's nothing that would be any savings for this fiscal year. So during what is the year that's probably been the hardest economic hardship in the country in 50 plus years, we're gonna raise taxes on the citizen. And we're talking about savings for the future, and we're not doing anything for an immediate saving for the citizens right now. So that's, I don't have a question for that, that's more of a statement. And then I'm also just curious, can I ask which seats are up for vote coming up in the next election?
Do you want me to respond there?
Yeah, go ahead, I didn't hear what you said.
I'm just curious which seats are up for vote in the coming
Okay.
election.
Council member posts 4 and 5 are up for election in November of 2021. Posts 1 and 2 and the mayor's seat are up for election in November of 2022.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Anyone else want to speak? Please give us your name and your address.
Good evening. My name is Noah Thompson. I live in Canterbury Springs, 19 Canterbury Drive to be specific. So what we're talking about here, we're trying to keep the millage rate at the current 4.59 whatever. Is that correct?
Correct.
We did that last year, and where's that money going? Development is consistently increasing. Sir, please, I really wish you wouldn't photograph me while I'm speaking.
This is a public hearing, okay, and I've got a right to photograph, okay?
Okay, development in the city has been pretty consistently on the rise, as for residential facilities, is that correct? We got new subdivisions going in, both from, I think Freedom Builders, and then we had, what is it, Liberty Communities, stuff like that. So revenue is consistently increasing as far as residents that we have joining the city. I just want to personally speak in opposition of this tax increase. I understand that Coweta County has offered a rollback rate to keep us exactly where we're at. I'm in favor of that, because we jumped the gun and increased last year. Anybody that I heard speak at last year's public hearings were not in favor, and we voted for it anyway. So I really wish you guys would vote in favor of what the citizens that feel so inclined to speak. I just want to agree with my council members, and I think that anybody else that would have the guts to come up here and speak would say the same. Thank you.
Thank you for your input. Anyone else? Nobody wants to speak in favor or against the proposal? Okay. We'll close it out.
No council comments?
Yeah, we will.
The public hearing's closed at 7:05.
I thought we had all right. We'll follow the thing out, Jim, and then we'll talk about that as we get down to it. That covers both the hearing and the military, am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Decision discussion on the bid for the interior restoration of the passenger depot.
Robbie, is Kyle on the phone?
Kyle?
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. Mr. Campbell, our interior designer for the restoration of the passenger depot, completed his review of 2 bids for the interior build-up out of the passenger depot. We received a base bid from Principal Construction out of LaGrange for $139,000, and a base bid from Scott Construction from Swanee for $144,827. When you add in their cost of a performance and payment bond, the total is $146,207. When it's over $100,000, state law requires payment and performance bonds. Based upon the relevant projects submitted by both firms, Scott Construction has the broadest experience with historic properties. Their past projects have included many complicated rehabilitations involving some of the most important buildings in our state. Kyle Campbell's recommendation to the city council would be to select their bid, Scott Construction, should you choose to accept any of the bids submitted. Both bids are over the target, and Scott's bids is likely higher than Principal due to the travel distance from their home office. They also provided a breakdown of costs included in their bid labeled as Exhibit A. These costs include $22,033 in general conditions, and $8,676 in overhead and fees. As we discussed at the onset of this phase of work on the depot, that is over $30,000 in costs that are being incurred because we're using a general contractor and does not include any markups from them or materials and subcontractors. Also, because the bid is over the state threshold, the contractor is including the cost of the bid bond. That is 5% of the bid amount, or approximately $7,000 that the project is paying for. Additionally, Scott's bid includes items not required in the plans that can be amended to save money. This includes almost $16,000 for 4 stained gray red oak doors, which are unnecessary as the doors will be painted. Utilizing a more cost-effective wood will provide a savings, as will abating the floor, vice encapsulating the tile, and the paint encapsulate proposed will damage the building over time. And in his letter, Kyle says if you have any questions, please let him know. So, that's where we are. Mr. Campbell's on the phone if anybody has any questions. As you know, the original budget was $100,000. Of that, $85,000 remains.
Okay. Anybody got any questions?
Well,
Go ahead.
well, okay, so if we go forward with this, we're gonna be short $59,827 at that bid from Scott Construction. Is that correct?
Well, I added the payment and performance bond, and my estimation is, sir, that you'd be $61,207 short.
Short, $61,000 short. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Nobody else? I had questions concerning the advantage or disadvantage or whatever of using the general contractor on this when, I mean, what are we gonna get out of that? Because whatever they do in that building is gonna have to pass state codes and, electrical codes, HVAC, et cetera. And so Safeville's gonna check off on that. And if we could eliminate the use of the, general contractor, we may come in at what we already have advocated or close to it. And is there any reason why we absolutely have to use a general cop?
My understanding is no, there's not. We're not making any structural changes to the building. We're simply adding new HVAC and electrical, which those subs will be able to pull permits for those items on their own. And then we're replacing the floor with a new, we're not actually replacing the floor structure, we're just replacing the surface and then repainting and replacing bathroom fixtures.
I believe Safeville said because it's a commercial building, you need a general contractor to pull the permits. The alternative to that is to prepare specifications and bid out each service that you need for the project, such as the HVAC. Someone has to prepare specifications to bid the project. Now, I can go get my book, but we went over this once before. That's why we're having a general contractor to pull the permits. It's a commercial building.
Well, now, correct me if I'm wrong, but if we use a general or not, you're still gonna have to have the HVAC people and so forth pull those permits.
That
Because
is,
the general cannot pull those permits.
will we disagree on that?
You're right. You can.
Can the general, Kyle, do you know whether one way or the other?
My understanding is that general contractor would not be necessary because all of the trade items would have to be pulling their permits themselves.
That's correct. If we break the project into segments and bid each separate trade.
Mr. Mayor, right next door, Mr. Sells was required to hire a general contractor because it's a
Commercial building.
And I hope,
Well, that's what Sakefield has told me.
and me.
It's a commercial building, you need a general contractor.
Okay, I'm just, like I say, I don't know. I thought there was a way of doing it. And like the two people that spoke tonight, how can we save money if you can save $30,000 or $40,000? I think that's something we need to look into.
Well, I'll be happy to clarify it with Sakefield.
All righty.
Can I say
Anybody else?
something?
Go, did you have something, Kyle?
No, this is Alan.
Oh, Alan, did you have something?
Yeah, if y'all want to handle this like you did the exterior of that thing, just go right ahead. You know, I still got a thorn in my side from recently when this council had the opportunity to do the one best improvement for downtown Grantville and chose not to with the grant on the freight depot. Now, the outside of that passenger depot was handled by Kyle Campbell and the mayor. So y'all can let the mayor go over there and supervise the inside of this thing like he did the outside. And we spent $165,000 on the exterior of the passenger depot. Now tell me what benefit that thing's gonna do for downtown. Y'all all chose to vote down the grant for the freight depot. Do away with the general contractor. That's fine. Handle it like you did the exterior of it.
Is that all you got to say?
Right now?
Okay. Well, just let me, correct you once again, wherever.
No, everything that was done on the
Excuse me, I asked you if you were finished and you said yes, and now I am speaking.
And that's what y'all
You are out of order,
us to
Mr.
do again.
Waycasey.
We
You
said
are out of
nobody
order.
took bids on
You
it.
are out of order, Mr. Waycasey. I gave you an opportunity, I asked you if you were finished. You said you were. Now, I said, I'm speaking, when I finish, if you have other comments, you're welcome to make them. Now, but I don't know where you get the information that the mayor ran that thing, but that's not true. The only thing I ever did was go down and look at the progress on it, but I sure as heck didn't have anything to do with it. And, Mr. Campbell, are you aware that, was I involved in that to your knowledge? Kyle?
All of the,
Mr. Campbell, will you answer that question, please?
Go ahead,
the mayor
Kyle.
made frequent visits to the site. The approvals of all of the subs came through City Hall.
I'm sorry?
We're done by a sole source provider.
Mr. Waycasey,
Am I right?
Mr. Waycasey, we allowed you to
Not
speak.
through a sole source.
And
provided
now someone
every
else is
opportunity
speaking.
we could.
Please
We
don't.
tried to-
Ultimately, that means there was no bids taken.
There were not bids taken, but we tried to get multiple quotes for everything that we could on the exterior. I'd also like to point out.
So there were no bids
Did
taken.
not. I'd also like to point out that the building did not cost $165,000 for the exterior.
But can somebody confirm that? I may be wrong.
Are you finished? Are you finished, Kyle? Kyle Campbell, are you finished?
Well, I was just asking if Mr. Greasaver could confirm that the building's exterior renovation did not cost $165,000.
I don't know whether he's got that.
I don't have the figures in front of me.
He does.
We didn't actually break $100,000, but, you know, as far as the interior, you know, my recommendation would not be to utilize the general contractors. I've said in the past, happy to bid out each piece of the interior work, get 3 bids, et cetera, if that would be agreeable with city council. But I think that spending $40,000 or 40% of the project cost for fees associated with general contractors is just unacceptable.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Yes. Mr. Mayor and all, I do recall the interior the exterior for our passenger depot came in under the $100,000, and there was one citizen who was complimentary of the passenger depot and the cost. So I can attest without any reservation, it was not $165,000, but rather under the $100,000 that we had allocated.
Is that all?
Yes.
All right, anybody else?
Just one last comment. You know, I resented the extra cost of the general contractor also, and the city of Grantville hauled me into court for not following Safe Built's requirements, and I was held accountable, and I resented the general contractor's cost too. But you're gonna be hard pressed to treat me one way and do a commercial building right next door differently, because I got a whole bunch of downtown buildings I need to work on. And if you're not gonna use a general contractor, well, by golly, let's not let me go forward with that one too. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? All right, well, let me make it clear, we don't say on for the record anymore unless we have it written up, but, let me just say, I am not proposing or suggesting that the city of Grantville violate any of the state or federal laws on this building. But if the law allows this to go forward without a general contractor, Jim, I don't know why they required it, but if that's what the law was, then I would expect you to go by them. And if the law requires us to, I would expect the city to go by them. And that's the only suggestion. At the same time, we've had at least 2 citizens stand up here tonight and say, we need to try to save money where we can. And if we can, if it's legal to do so, then I think that's my suggestion, is that we do that. But of course, that's just a suggestion. Anybody else? Nothing else, we move on. Thank you, Kyle, for calling in.
Thank y'all.
All right, next.
Mr. Mayor, should we make a recommendation before we move on?
There's some questions, we can't make a decision tonight at all.
Yeah, whatever.
If you have anything else to say or whatever,
Oh, yeah.
now's the time to say it.
Yes, I'm aware of that. Well, my recommendation would be to follow suit on what Mr. Kyle Campbell has said, and our manager as well, as to what can be done concerning this passenger depot.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, nobody else. And I would agree with her that at least we need to look into the legality of it. If we have to have one, then so be it. But if we don't have to, I think it's an opportunity to save money, and I think it, as elected officials, that's our part of our job, is to try to save the money where we can. All right, next order of business, received dollar for dollar back to grant. On the Merle, oh, my bad, I knew that one good. Letter of engagement for the auditor, Gerald Pentecost.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. The letter of engagement for the fiscal year 2020 audit with Gerald Pentecost, our CPA, doing the audit is in your package, and we recommend approval. The cost will be the same as last year, not to exceed $23,950, and we recommend that we use Gerald Pentecost CPA for our fiscal year 2020 audit.
Okay, anybody got any questions or discussion? The next item is discussion decision on the Merle for downtown. This is a project that we received a dollar for dollar matching grant of $5,000 from the Georgia Council of the Arts.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. We have to make a decision whether or not we want to pursue the grant for the mural for downtown. We have two challenges. The first one is we need a location for it. We have proposed doing it on the west face of 1 Main Street, which is the building owned by Miss Javley and occupied by Metaphor. However, that location is no longer available, and it has to be completed by December the 31st, 2020. So, for location, please let me know. And if not, we may have to, if the council wants to, put it on panels, which is possible, and display it upright on panels. It would probably take 3 4x8 panels and place it on the east side of the freight depot. But that is a decision by the mayor and city council. 1, if they want to go forward with it, and 2, if we have no location, to put it on panels. Obviously, the project would cost $10,000, of which the city would contribute $5,000 to match the $5,000 grant from the Georgia Council of the Arts.
Okay, anybody got any comments?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Gentlemen, what do you all think about having a committee meeting to get citizen input concerning this mural? What do y'all think? You don't think?
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Yeah. Anybody else? I was gonna suggest that, and it's not my idea, it's Ms. Hines' idea. She may or may not remember discussing it, but the, building down here on the corner where the veterans used to be, the Cantrell family estate owns it now. I don't know whether that would be something that they would be open to allowing it to be put on the side of their building, but it's right here on Green Street and Main Street, which I think would get a lot of exposure. Maybe you could talk to one of them
Yes, sir.
and
That's
see
a
if
good
they're
idea.
open to it, and then see if it's suitable. I
Well,
know
it
at
would
one
be.
time they had a lot of, mold on this outside of the building, but it seems to, most of that's gone, if not all gone yet. But just a suggestion.
I will contact them.
Thank you for that. Okay, next item of business, discussion, decision on replacement of the pavilion for the Griffin Street Recreation Park.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Just a minute, I'm making the note, please. I think it's fair to say this is a work in progress. I've been in touch with Fowler Masonry as to the concrete pad. The cost of enlarging the concrete pad to 60 by 40 has not yet been determined. It may be that the present concrete pad of 40 by 20 may have to be removed because of the anchor bolt plan needed for an enlarged pavilion. I have contacted 2 makers of pavilions and 4 other entities that provide metal buildings. There is one, both the pavilion companies, which is one, I can't pronounce this, is Blue Lamp, it's capital G-L-U, capital L-A-M Pavilions. They sell a 30 by 60 pavilion with a gable style roof, mega red metal roof. They have not given me a price yet. FifthRoom.com, they provide a 30 by 60 steel frame gable rectangular Savannah pavilion, which is $69,997 before freight. Both of these pavilion companies tell you that they come with engineered plans. They have an anchor bolt system for them. So, right now, it appears that if we plan to go forward and replace the pavilion at Griffin Street Park Complex, we may have to remove the existing pavilion and the concrete pad and get the engineered drawings, make a 30 by 60 pad with anchor bolts to support a metal pavilion. Frankly, at this point, we are not sure if we have enough information. We don't know the cost of concrete. It has been suggested that it's $9.50 per square foot. And when you have a 30 by 60 pavilion, you have 1,800 square feet And if you just put that at $9, you're talking, without labor, approximately $17,000 in concrete. But as I said, this is a work in progress. I'll try and have more information on the 24th, but right now, it doesn't look like it may be cost effective to remove the pavilion at Griffin Street Park Complex and replace it with a larger pavilion for maybe 1 or 2 events a year. It may be less expensive when we have those big events to contact Kawita Rental and put up a 40 by 40 shelter tent type situation, which we have used at the Sarah O'Kelly memorial opening for the municipal auditorium, and we used it at 117 Merriweather when we had the meeting with the community development block grant folks. Just something to consider. I'll try and flesh out more costs for our meeting, but that's where we are right now. As I said, it's a work in progress.
Has anybody got any questions? Comment?
Mr. Mayor, there's so little information here. We would, to take this into consideration at the voting meeting, we'd almost be blindsided. I'm hoping, because this isn't, we're not under pressure here, I'm hoping we can get this information and have it on the work session in September. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I definitely want to have all the information on it, but that's 2 weeks off. We still, Mr. Grishaber still might be able to bring it, but we'll leave it on the agenda. All right, next order of business is the adoption of the fiscal year budget of the city of Grantville.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. This ordinance is a placeholder for our city council meeting on August the 24th. Obviously, no action can be taken tonight, but it's put on the work session agenda as a placeholder, along with the next item, which is a resolution setting and adopting the 2020 annual millage rate. So those two are placeholders. So if the mayor and council members have no comments, we would go to the next item.
Well, are they, is this, so this would be the first reading tonight, or?
No, sir, we had the first meeting last month for the ordinance, the budget ordinance.
Okay. We don't have to vote on it. The second reading to.
You will at your next meeting. This is a work session. It'll be on your agenda for your meeting on the 24th.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Next one?
The next one, Mr. Mayor, is discussion decision on the cemetery trust fund trustee appointments of Mr. Ron Hudgens and Billy Hand. These two names have been suggested as individuals who would like to serve as cemetery trust fund trustees in accordance with the resolution creating the cemetery trust fund. They are there because it has been more than 3 months since the vacancies occurred, so they would be city council appointments.
Anybody got any questions or discussion?
Since they are, Mr. Mayor, we will be appointing them, do they need, Mr. Appreciate to fill out an application It's similar to what they do for HPC and zoning board, recreation board.
Well, I will defer to the city attorney on that. However, these appointments are done under the cemetery trust indenture. So I did not require them to fill out any documentation. I was given their names by the sole cemetery trust fund trustee as candidates to serve as trustees. I followed the resolution, being more than 3 months since the vacancies occurred. They become city council appointments, and I suspect the city council could require them to complete paperwork, but in my opinion, it is not required.
You have any comment?
I would agree with Mr. Grieshaver. I think, as he pointed out, these are certainly city council appointments. As far as what information you want or feel you need in order to have sufficient information to act on their appointment, that's up to the council. But there's certainly nothing in the trust document requiring that they present any such information, but again, they're your appointments, and whatever information you believe you need to make an informed decision in appointing them, you're certainly within your right to request or require that.
All right, anybody got any comments on here? All right, next item is discussion, decision, well, not a decision, the intergovernmental agreement with, for facilitating community forums and further community building and trust building.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Give you a little background. The city of Noonan came up with the idea to have all the entities in Coweta County agree, or at least consider, a proposal, the intergovernmental agreement, to facilitate community forums to further community building and trust building within Coweta County. Of course, there's an expense to it, and the share that Grantville would put out is 5% of the total cost. As I told the city manager of Noonan, that certainly we would consider it. I asked and we received an update, and I will read the update. At this time, we have still not received a proposal for facilitating the town hall discussions. We have reached out to more than a dozen organizations / facilitators. We are hopeful that we will receive a proposal this week, the week of August the 6th, from the Fanning Institute at the University of Georgia. They have an interest, but would like to change the scope somewhat. Instead of, quote, open mic, end quote, sessions, they would prefer to start interviews with each of you, meaning city managers and the sheriff and on, and other community leaders, and then lead into a series of focus group sessions. We may ask them to have at least one, quote, town hall meeting, end quote. I have spoken with my elected officials, City of Noonan, about this format, and they are on board and actually prefer this approach. As soon as I get the proposal from Fanning Institute at the University of Georgia, I will pass it along. I know that many of you are waiting on the proposal before considering the intergovernmental agreement, and that is certainly understandable. So, it's here. We haven't got the proposal yet. If we receive any information before August the 24th, we will certainly pass it along. However, if not, it will continue on the agenda until we get more information so the council can make a decision whether or not they care to participate in it or not. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor and council members.
Anybody got any questions on that? Next order of business, citizens' comment. Robert, we have any comments? Citizens' comment?
I've already given them to you.
That's it. Did you want to?
Yeah, one more thing. Once again, Kevin Downs, I'm Summerhill Subdivision. I just wanted to say that I really like that idea that Ms. Hines suggested for the mural. I think that as elected officials, that's something we should strive for more of, is some sort of, I'm guessing what you were asking is to kind of get a panel of citizens to get involved in that. I think that's something that Grantville definitely needs more of, and I think that's something that you guys should definitely consider. Because I know it's been a while. The last meeting that I came to was when we were talking about the proposed, I think it was a 200 unit or 100 unit trailer park across from basically my neighborhood. And I remember you saying that, I hope that this isn't the last meeting that you come to. I'd love to see more involvement like this, and I think that's the first step. Is I think doing more things like that and inviting citizens to be a part of those decisions is the first step in getting Grantville what I would hope to where you guys want and where I know a lot of us, because I'm a new resident. I've been here 2 years now. I spent enough money on my home that I don't plan on leaving soon. And I know, with all the development coming in, there's a lot of people as well, and those people are I'm seeing a lot of my age, people that are starting first homes, starting families that are probably going to be here for a while. And I know from that younger generation, they don't show up to meetings like this, but they're very vocal on social media. And I know they will go out and try to be involved. They're just not good at meetings. So I think more involvement like that is a great step to push us in the right direction. That's all.
Thank you, Kevin. Anybody else? All right, that brings us to the council. Mr. Waycase, you got any comments?
Yeah, I do. It's interesting, that gentleman just came to the podium. Evidently, he's been to 2 meetings. One of them because they were going to build a trailer park, or considering, came to the council about building a trailer park down the street from his house, and now a tax increase. Sir, I wish, and I ain't real popular about saying everything that makes me look good, but I wish you would come to more meetings besides things that affect you like they do. I appreciate your input, but come to every meeting. And another thing I wanted to say was that, people don't, if we can reverse here a little bit, we all went to, this was kind of historic, the city council of Grantville and our mayor, the city council and mayor of Moreland, Palmetto, Sharpsburg, Newnan, the county commissioners of Coweta County. Everybody, it was an interesting picture because it was unusual. Everybody went to a meeting in Newnan a year ago, approximately, to vote for a referendum to move the T-Splosh program forward. And everybody, there was not one no in that whole room, if I remember correctly. Now, if I'm wrong, I'm listening. But I don't think elected official in this county said no to the T-Splosh. But when it came to the public to decide, they shot it out of the water. It was, I don't remember, but it was amazing, the nose. Well, what's happened is the county has had to in turn find the money to function and build roads and bridges and the infrastructure. And some of that has trickled down on Grantville. And our little small Grantville tax has nothing to do with the school tax or the fire bond or the fire tax. Look those things up. They're huge compared to our Grantville tax. It's a cost of living kind of thing. And because of COVID, we've got some added expenses here. I just wanted some of the public to know that if you look back at the T-Splosh, that maybe is kind of where we at now with the tax increase. I'm not saying either way I'm for it or against it right now. I'm just saying that that's maybe what's a trickle down. The public voted it down, where every elected official in the county voted for it. So it's kind of an interesting thing. And now just the county is just like the city of Grantville. It takes a little more income to operate. And I just didn't think that everybody thought that out, that we had an opportunity to, that's like our splosh money. You know, we get a part of it from the county. But yet that money, most of that splosh money is spent outside of Grantville. I mean, there's much more money spent in Union than there is Grantville, and we get a portion of that. So all these people that live on the outskirts of Grantville, some of that is their dollars spent too. And I just want to see us improve Grantville and keep it affordable at the same time. I'm not bargaining for the tax increase or against it. I just wish some people would think about the T-Splosh that didn't fly. And that's all I got to say right now. I'm sorry for babbling. I've had a long couple of weeks here, and I appreciate everybody, but I wish you would be more involved than things that really affect you. Tax increases and trailer parks down the road from you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. King.
I'd like to thank the 5 people who did come tonight, for sitting through this with us. We're going to have a very interesting meeting on August 24th, so please try to come then. Thank you. That's all.
Ms. Hines?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm sorry, young man, I don't recall your name, but I just, Kevin? All right, Mr. Kevin, just wanted to say, in October 2019, after attending a GMA meeting in Savannah, we learned that some cities have ad hoc budget committees. And so I brought this back to my colleagues, and at first they were receptive. In fact, I was looking through my minutes the other day. 3 voted for us to have the ad hoc budget committee and 1 against. That was first time was an agreement. Anyway, when all was said and done, when we brought it back for the final vote, it was they did not vote to have that. The ad hoc budget committee could, in my opinion, could possibly be an advantage to us in that citizen can have input into how our monies are being spent, and we may be pleasantly surprised. We may have mathematicians in our city that can help to steer us in the right direction should we be going wrong. We did not have the budget committee, and if we had, I believe you could have been given valuable insight. I think that once we get our citizen, and that's why we need to have more committee meetings at a time that is convenient for our citizen, so that they can come and give us their insight. Because after all, we have to keep in mind, the citizen voted us in, and in 21, they were voting others in or the same one in, I don't know. I just know that we need to make our citizens' concern a top priority. And on this budget committee, it was 7 people. Of course, one council person said it was padded. However, one citizen volunteered to serve, and in fact, all of them did. But this particular citizen came to the manager and asked if he could serve. So I knew that he really wanted to serve. It was not a padded committee because we had asked our manager to be the person to help steer us in the right direction, and our accountant. So it was going to be 7 citizens, 5 citizens, the mayor, myself, and the manager and our accountant. Of course, that fell by the wayside for this year, but we are believing that next year that we will be able to have an ad hoc budget committee so that citizens can give their input. Thank you so much for coming, and I hope your evening will be pleasant.
Thank you, Ruben.
We spent a lot of time listening to boats that have sunk or sailed, however you want to listen, talk about it. T-Splosh is gone, the budget committee's gone. Where are we right now? We got 11% unemployment. Now, maybe Grantville folks have had a raise, but I doubt it. You think we're having extra expenses? How would you like to be a working mother with 2 kids? You know, it's out there everywhere, everybody. But you know, that working mother with 2 kids that lives in the village or wherever in Grantville is cutting expenses. She's not going to her, give me more money. And here we are. We give you no place to go. We got you. We got you. You're going to pay what we ask for. We want more money. We've had increase after increase at this city council the last 5 years. Well, let's get another 20% because we need it. Well, I'll give you a way tonight to save $85,000 to $146,000. Don't spend any money on the inside of that passenger depot. You're not going to do anything with it, at least on the outside. We get to look at it as we drive by. We're being offered a $146,000 deal on a passenger depot that's not going to bring any revenue or anything to this city. And you can talk all night about how it'll do this or do that. It won't. It won't. Downtown's about as dead as it can be. Unfortunately, I invested in it. I'm paying the price, but not one iota effort made to save cost in any department. And 6 years ago, during the recession, the council sent word to all the departments to cut it 10%. We weren't asked, as far as I know, no one's been asked to cut it any percent. But we're going to consider in 2 weeks from tonight taking another $64,000 from the Grantville citizens, so we have more money during this tough time. And that money's coming from the citizens that are going to work every day that also are having a tough time. So I can tell you right now, I'm voting against the budget and I'm voting against a tax increase. Nothing else was considered that I've heard from the city manager. So I'll be voting against it. If we're not going to cut corners, then that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. First thing is, Ms. Hines and Kevin, thank y'all for coming tonight. Thank you for being a part of the city council meetings. I'm not gonna criticize, you've only been here 2, Kevin. You've been here 2, that's 2 more than a lot of folks. But I would encourage you to try to get here just as often as you can, because citizens' input is important to what we do up here.
I'd just like to touch on about that ad hoc, budget committee. I definitely feel that if we would get that together, I think it could definitely benefit the city and the citizens, and like tonight, with the budget, if they were a part of this, they would know where the money's going and where it can, or if it can be cut, or what have you. And like Ms. Hines said, there might be somebody out there that's got a better idea that can provide the services without increasing the money on it. So, at any rate, I think with the budget, if the citizens understood it, I think they'd be more apt to understand why the necessity to raise the taxes. As far as that passenger depot, I just wish I had Mr. Jim's crystal ball that he can look into it and say what will or will not happen. I don't have one. Chamber of Commerce, if they had the same attitude and what have you 30, 40, 50 years ago, wouldn't be a Chamber of Commerce. The building, when they start spending the money on it, the thought was that we would use it as a artifacts of the city and also a visitor welcome center. You know, as many people that do come to the city, if they had a place, even if it's 10, if they had a place to come to and get information on the city and what have you, they might be interested in relocating the business or whatever. I think we should move ahead on that. The money part, the money we're spending on that is money that we went to the taxpayers in a referendum and said, hey, we want to take this 1% sales tax on the things that you spend and spend it partially for redoing our old buildings and bringing them up so that they can be used for a purpose. And I just think we ought to follow through on that. That's all I got to say for now, but thanks again everybody for coming out. But definitely encourage you to keep coming. All right, Mr. Grishaber?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, I have one item. I placed on the dais for each council member a door hanger that we're using to remind members, residents about bulk pickup and putting out and retrieving their trash cans. As you remember, we had some citizens' comments about trash cans sitting out and bulk pickup. Well, we're starting an education program before we cite people through code enforcement, and this is one of the first steps. So that's what we're trying to do. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Mr. Mitchell, you got anything?
No, sir.
All right. Nothing else come before the council, adjournment in the board.
So moved.
We have a motion, second. All questions, hearing none, all in favor, signify by aye. Aye. We are adjourned, thank you.